Ah, now I see. Hello, I am Jagger J, and in the ending of my recent video I teased that I'd be following it up with another video, as I, at the time, learned that people were trying to make games easier, and decided it would be a good idea to take a step back and express my own opinions while trying not to sound one-sided. This is, of course, on the topic of if games are way too hard and should be simplified for the masses so that they can play them. And with that being said, let's begin! Now first off, why do people want games to be easier? From what I have observed from people complaining about games' difficulty, it is usually because of the idea that it allows more and more people to play said game, and that the ending of the game should be accessible to all of the players as they bought the game in order to see said end. Basically, games should be turned into movies where you just press forward and move a few steps. Not unlike Heavy Rain, when the main gameplay is just pressing a few buttons and the story is the center point of the game. The idea of a skip boss button in order to get past a certain roadblock or incredibly hard games implementing an easy mode to allow inexperienced players a way into the game. Now first off, would lowering the difficulty allow more people to easily access and play the game? Well yes it would, as it means more and more inexperienced players are able to move through the game in their own pace. It is a way to play the game you just have a fleeting interest in without needing to demonstrate your gaming skill. Playing on the easiest mode is a way to experience the story without the gameplay elements to put you off, which to many people is quite desirable within a game. However, a counterpoint to this is that games are there to be a challenge to the player and to tax their brains. Many games do tease players who play on the easiest mode, not out of spite, but because that isn't how they wanted their game to be played. You see, many games want to challenge their player and want them to deal with the hardships laid before them, and the reason why is the sense of pleasure you get beating an extremely tough enemy for once. So yes, having difficulty sliders makes games way more accessible to other players, but by doing so it loses that specialness in a sea of already easy games and becomes just another plain and boring get to point A to point B game without anything special besides the story. However, I would first like to point out games that do this difficulty thing right in my opinion. One of these games is Kingdom Hearts. Now Kingdom Hearts is an okay game difficulty wise, although even on higher difficulties it can still be easy thanks to grinding. However, Kingdom Hearts has a difficulty slider that allows you to choose either easy, normal, or proud, with critical mode coming in later. What this is an easy mode, normal mode, hard mode, and challenge mode. Now, on the easy game modes, nothing special really happens. Enemies are weaker. Heck, some of them even lose certain attacks that are in the later difficulties. And the game itself just turns into an easy point A to point B for new players to get into the game. However, as you access high difficulties, enemies gain more attacks, more moves, and it becomes more challenging. Heck, unless you play the game on a harder game mode, much of the story is locked up, and in one of the games, an entire story mission crucial for the story plot is locked behind a difficulty wall. Thus, the game is open for all players to enjoy. However, to experience the whole game in its entirety, you must muster up the courage to beat the game on its harder difficulties. Which brings me on to my next argument, that you pay for the game and as such the ending is owed to you no matter what. Well, when you buy a product, you are owed many things. For instance, for a movie to be worth the money you paid for it, there has to be some good cinematography and some good scenes in the movie, and it has to be at least entertaining. This is mostly the same for all products you buy, including games. With games, the more expensive it is, the more you are owed in terms of gameplay, graphics, and fun. If the game is not as fun, has a worthless single-player or multiplayer experience, and everything is terrible, then it would be a massive rip-off for the game to be around $60 or something. However, think of video games as like a jigsaw. Now a jigsaw comes already apart and asks you to piece it together by using nothing but the front of the cover for guidance for your memory as well as visual clues. Heck, some jigsaws don't even have visual clues and your goal is to figure out where all the pieces go using patterns. Now easier jigsaws only have around 20 to 30 pieces to them, which are okay for beginners, but get stale after a while when you can complete them within a minute or so. While there are more hardcore jigsaws that I personally enjoy that contain 1,000 to 2,000 pieces, which can take days to complete if you only get an hour to work on them a day. How does this tie into gaming though? Well, like games, jigsaws are a challenge for your mind, with jigsaws being visual based and games being usually reaction based. There are many games out there like Candy Crush and Heavy Rain where you don't need to worry too much about it, as they only contain minor challenge, and as such, if you wish to complete them, then they don't take too many pieces to do so. However, for the gamers who want more of a challenge, there are the alternatives like Dark Souls and the higher difficulty settings for games that contain certainly more pieces for gamers to figure out, as well as feeling more rewarding once you've completed them, as they took more and more time to practice and complete. Next up is the idea of a skip boss button, or a button to help you get past a certain boss in order to progress further into the game. Now to answer this, we need to figure out why bosses are implemented in the first place. From what I understand about boss implementation, bosses are usually there for 3 reasons. For story reasons, well, they are basically battled because the story needs it to progress. For a test to see if you have what it takes to use a skill you've learned to progress through the game. And for a challenge in order to give the gamer something to boast about. Now for this argument, I will first leave out the challenge bosses, as they are usually bosses you face at the end game, and are usually hidden or secret. First off, should it be a good idea to skip story bosses that are only there for story purposes? Well, no and yes. You see, story bosses are just there for story reasons, and so all they are basically glorified cutscenes, and as such, all they can do is get in the way of story progression. However, many of these story bosses are usually there to make you feel sad, angry, happy, or upset. Let us say you are fighting a gigantic wolf that has an extremely tragic backstory. It wants to stop you from continuing your journey, and as such picks up a sword to fight you. This boss is extremely easy, but the more you hurt it, the more it starts to limp until eventually you kill it, and you have to contemplate all that you have done up to that point. Are you the villain? Is all this suffering and pain your fault? Now just imagine skipping all that. You don't have to feel what the boss felt. You can just continue with the game emotions free. Also, Dark Souls for the win. Next up, bosses that test your skills. These bosses are usually in puzzle or action games, and oftentimes appear when you learn a new ability, get a new item, or learn something new. But are these bosses important? Well, not necessarily, as all they are is a way to stop the player and force them into a massive tutorial with no instructions. However, this ability might be important later down the line. You may need this specific skill or power to defeat the later game enemies, or you may need it to access the story later on. Plus it's a lot of fun to mess with this skill within battles, and you may want to show it off or test your skills. And finally, my last argument of this video is skill shaming. Skill shaming. Skill shaming. Skill shaming, yeah. Yeah. This idea is a fairly controversial one. That you should not shame someone because of their skill in a game. Shaming someone, or skill shaming them within a game, is said to be the main reason people find it hard to get into gaming, with many people using it to point fingers at the gaming community and call it toxic. It's basically the idea that certain people shouldn't be criticized for their gameplay. I very much disagree with this idea, that no one deserves criticism because of their drawing style, point of view, gameplay, and criticism is the only way to really learn if you are right or wrong, and is the reason I ask anyone who watches my videos to express their opinions in the comments below. I mean, no one does, and I'm still waiting for that brave soul to critique my point of view in a debate-like manner, such as if a person was to say, I disagree with you because of this. I mean, I would love to see someone's point of view on skill shaming right now. Critique of anything, whether it is gameplay, YouTube videos, political ideology, or more, is a great way to expand both your own and others' personal beliefs. And if they refuse to listen, well, that's their problem. And as such, I don't really see skill shaming as a bad thing, as in the end, the way I see it is that skill shaming is when someone boasts about their accomplishments online, and it makes you personally feel bad for not being as good as them, which, in my opinion, should be what drives you to push yourself and to show them up by being the best there in that game particularly. So, in conclusion, do I believe video games should be made easier for the general public? Well, no. Although making games easier may make the story more accessible, may get people into said games, and may make it easier for people new to gaming to learn the ins and outs, in my personal opinion, the negatives far outweigh the positives. For instance, there are millions of games out there, extremely easy, that anyone at any age can happily enjoy, that can easily be a great starting point for gaming, many of which have many easy modes on them. As well, many games pride themselves on creating a difficult environment for players to adapt to, and having an easy mode doesn't go with what they had in mind. As well, being able to abuse skip boss buttons and skip game buttons can ruin everything, including the fun about the game that skilled players enjoy. Basically, gamers are there for the challenge, and if you wish to be a gamer, then the only requirement to be a gamer is that you also be up to the challenge. But these are my opinions anyway. Feel free to tell me in the comments below your own personal opinions and views on this matter. I mean, it's not like I will actually get any comments as willing to debate as per usual on my videos, but do remember that I will not attack you for your own personal beliefs, and I am willing to read all your opinions on my videos. Please respond. I'm getting cold, so I'm alone here, I don't need you. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video, and please have a great day.